In 1903, Thomas Edison electrocuted an elephant named Topsy, not for science, but for revenge and profit. In the early 1900s, New York's Coney Island was a place of wonder and entertainment. But on January 4, 1903, it became the stage for one of history's most disturbing demonstrations of corporate rivalry and animal cruelty. Topsy was a 28-year-old Asian elephant who had spent her life performing in the Four-Paw Circus. After years of abuse and mistreatment, she had killed 3 handlers, including one who had attempted to feed her a lit cigarette. Her final handler's death led to her being deemed too dangerous to keep, and Luna Park's owners decided to put her down. But what happened next wasn't just about euthanizing a dangerous animal. Thomas Edison, the famous inventor, saw an opportunity. He was in the midst of a fierce battle with George Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla. Over whose electrical system would power America, Edison's direct current, DC, or his rival's alternating current, AC. Edison had already lost significant ground in this war of currents. His DC system was proving less efficient and more expensive than AC. But instead of accepting defeat, Edison launched a dark campaign to discredit AC power. He began publicly electrocuting animals using alternating current, trying to prove it was deadly and dangerous. The most chilling part? Edison's film company recorded Topsy's execution. His crew set up their cameras while electricians fitted copper-lined sandals to Topsy's feet. They fed her carrots laced with 460 grams of potassium cyanide, then sent 6,600 volts of AC electricity through her body. The execution took place in front of 1,500 spectators who had paid to watch. In mere seconds, Topsy collapsed and died. Edison's crew captured every moment, later releasing it as a short film called Electrocuting an Elephant. But here's what the history books often overlook. Edison had already lost the war of currents by this point. AC had become the standard for power distribution years before Topsy's death. This wasn't about proving AC's dangers anymore, it was about Edison's bitter inability to accept defeat. The film of Topsy's death was shown in theaters across America. Edison marketed it as entertainment, profiting from the elephant's suffering. He had transformed from an innovative inventor into a man consumed by revenge, willing to publicly execute an animal to satisfy his wounded pride. Even more disturbing is how Edison's company documented the execution in their catalog. They described it as a genuine affirmation of the dangers of alternating current, despite the fact that the cyanide likely killed Topsy before the electricity did. It was propaganda masquerading as science. The story of Topsy reveals a darker side of America's most celebrated inventor. It shows how far Edison was willing to go in his vendetta against AC power, orchestrating public executions of animals, including dogs, cats, and ultimately an elephant. This incident marked a turning point in how society viewed public executions and animal rights. While crowds had gathered to watch Topsy die, the public's appetite for such spectacles began to wane. The event became a symbol of corporate ruthlessness and scientific ethics gone wrong. The film of Topsy's death still exists today, preserved in the Library of Congress. It stands as a chilling reminder of how personal vendettas and corporate rivalries can lead to unspeakable cruelty. Edison's role in this dark chapter was carefully downplayed in most historical accounts, but the truth remained preserved in those grainy frames of film. But Topsy's story doesn't end with her death. The incident sparked a broader conversation about the treatment of animals in entertainment. In the years following her execution, several states began passing laws regulating the use of animals in circuses and other public shows. What's particularly haunting about this story is the calculated nature of Edison's actions. He didn't just participate in Topsy's execution, he turned it into a media event. His film company advertised the footage weeks in advance, promising viewers a spectacle they wouldn't forget. The execution methods chosen were deliberately excessive. One method would have been sufficient to end Topsy's life, but Edison insisted on using three: electricity, poison, and strangulation, though the last was ultimately not used. This overkill wasn't about ensuring a humane death, it was about creating a dramatic show. Edison's involvement in Topsy's death wasn't an isolated incident. Throughout the 1880s and 1890s, he had conducted numerous public demonstrations of AC's dangers. He would set up demonstrations where dogs, cats, and other animals were electrocuted using AC power. These events were marketed as scientific experiments, but they were essentially public executions designed to scare the public away from his competitors' technology. The war of currents had personal implications for Edison beyond just business. He had invested heavily in DC power infrastructure, and the shift to AC meant significant financial losses. But more than money, it was about his reputation. Edison had become known as the greatest inventor of his time, and the superiority of AC power challenged that image. What many don't know is that Edison's campaign against AC power also influenced the development of the electric chair. He actively promoted AC power for use in capital punishment, hoping to associate his competitors' technology with death. This led to the first electric chair execution in 1890, which used AC power specifically because of Edison's influence. The aftermath of Topsy's execution revealed the changing attitudes of the American public. While initial reactions were mixed, as time passed, more people began to question the ethics of such displays. Newspapers that had initially reported the event as a spectacle began publishing critical editorials about animal cruelty. Edison's reputation suffered in scientific circles as well. Many of his fellow inventors and scientists viewed his campaign against AC power as unethical and unscientific. His obsession with discrediting his rivals had led him to abandon the principles of scientific inquiry. The legacy of Topsy's execution extends beyond animal rights or electrical systems. It serves as a cautionary tale about the dangers of allowing personal vendettas and corporate interests to override ethical considerations. It shows how even celebrated figures can be capable of remarkable cruelty when driven by pride and revenge. Today, wherever AC power flows through our homes and cities, there's an unspoken debt to Topsy and countless other animals who suffered. Their deaths weren't necessary for scientific progress. They were sacrifices to corporate greed and personal pride. The next time you flip a light switch, remember Topsy. Remember how the electricity flowing through your home was once at the center of a bitter war that led to an elephant's public execution. It's a dark reminder that progress often comes at a price, and that history's heroes sometimes have shadows in their past that no amount of electric light can dispel. This dark chapter in American history reminds us that innovation and progress must be guided by ethical considerations and human decency. Without these moral constraints, even the brightest minds can descend into darkness, leaving behind legacies that are forever tainted by cruelty and revenge.